You work hard at the job that you do your month, you get paid, right? So what happens after you get paid? You treat yourself, you spend a little bit on bills, you pay for the things that you need to pay for, right? But you got paid on the first of the month, and it's now the 10th, and you've run out of money pretty much. Oh, you skint. What happened? Where did it go wrong? You just got paid. 2 weeks later, you don't know what you're going to do now for the rest of the 2 weeks until you get paid again. That's very common. Happens to a lot of people. Happens to me. Something I'm still working on today. Let's go through some scenarios, what you can do to avoid it, and what you might actually be doing that's causing this. To a certain extent, being broke isn't about income anymore. It's about your habits. Whether you're earning £2,000 or £5,000, you can be broke on both salaries. So if your bills come out to £1,500 a month, do you know that they actually come out to £1,500 a month? That's something that you're going to have to look at. The vast majority of people, sometimes including myself, you're not able to answer how much your bills come to on a monthly basis because you don't honestly know. You don't know how much your grocery shopping is. You don't know what you're fully paying for on things, and small things like Amazon purchases, Uber Eats, stuff like that kind of all gets swept under the rug and you don't really think about it in that moment at a time. A lot of people also, nowadays do things like Klarna, put stuff on credit cards, and just kind of, I can't deal with it this month, so it'll have to be dealt with another month. Unfortunately, what usually happens with situations like that is everything everything comes calling at once, essentially. So now, 3 months down the line, the version of yourself that said they don't want to deal with it, now they have to deal with it. And so at that point, you've got two options. You either grit your teeth and try pay it out, or you make the situation worse and kick the can later again down the road. I don't know if you've ever truly looked at your sort of finances that come in on a monthly basis, and to be honest, have you ever accounted for those small purchases, that £30 Amazon purchase here, the £20 delivery there? Keep track of those and see how much you actually do spend on those things. On top of all that, we're not really being smart with our money. It's kind of what's the old saying? Penny wise, pound foolish. So what I mean by that is, I know a lot of people are financing their cars so much. You're paying £400 a month for pretty much a brand new car, or some people are actually financing used cars, and the reason they're doing that is because they think they're saving money on fuel and reliability and things like that. But the amount of money that you actually pay on interest is kind of astronomical, and so you're paying like 10 grand, maybe more on top. And I know a lot of people like to give their stories to you, a lot of family and friends, how maybe they've made good money back on their deals during COVID and stuff like that. Those are outliers. I wouldn't really believe them, and it doesn't really apply to your situation. We need to start thinking of these things, such as cars, not as assets because they're not, but as liabilities because that's honestly what they are. They don't make you money, they cost you money. It's the same thing as when you first buy your own home, right? It's not an asset. Sure, it will grow in value, but at the end of the day, the amount of money that you put into that house to make sure it doesn't turn to dust is unreal. The amount you're going to spend on renovations, the small things, they all add up. So it's kind of trying to be smart with your money and understanding that these things, whilst they are important to your lifestyle, sure, you need a car to get to work, you need a house, a place to live in. Don't go into it thinking this is an investment. Understand that it is a liability, and you'll be able to make decisions that are kind of clearer mentally about it. You can be, a lot of people get attached to either their home or their cars, and rightly so. It's where you spend the majority of time. It's how you show yourself who you are. But don't get it twisted. These things will cripple you financially if you let them. It's always like, kind of like, think of it as a ship, or a little boat where there's always going to be little leaks here and there, and you kind of have to always be on top of the ball. You know, Is their family, is your partner spending money and you don't know about it? Or are they asking you and you kind of just agreeing to it? You know, spending money in the first week of the month to the fourth week of the month are two different weeks. You know, a month lasts a long time financially sometimes when we're struggling, and you kind of have to keep a track of it, keep a budget. You know, something even as simple as we're only spending £100 on personal things that you want on Amazon a month, something like that. Anything to keep track or to keep a budget on top of it. A lot of people mix wants and needs together. So, for example, you need to pay your water bill every month. You don't need a new winter jacket. You can make do with the old one. It's just that you think that's something that you need, or you think that's something that is really essential to yourself. However, it's not. Same with shoes, same with a lot of things. You can make do with a lot of the circumstances, but the honest truth is you don't want to. So you identify it as something you need to have. And I understand it's really tough sometimes to make that decision and to be the one that stands there and say to your family, no, that is not something that we need. We need to be able to make do with what we've got and go on a little bit longer. And there's always going to be a fine line with that. There's always been conversations I've had with my partner or my family where I've said no and I've pushed back a little bit too hard. But you have to understand where that line is, and you do have to set it sometimes. It's difficult conversations to have, to be quite honest. Money is such a complex subject sometimes that it does need to be approached with care. But what a lot of people do is they kind of just go along, deal with it next month, because it is painful to have that conversation, and it is painful to say no to your partner when they want things, and you know, it's not a smart decision to do. So in terms of solutions, the number one thing that comes to my mind is just simply having a budget for certain things and trying to stick to them. So you can do a combination of a couple of things. So one thing that I do kind of at the beginning of every month is that I have £100 budget for me and £100 budget for my wife, and those are the things that we can spend guilt-free on. Now that has to last the whole month, so it's usually pretty good if you have like a whiteboard or some sort of system that you keep track of, because if you want to spend that £100 all at once, sure, you can do that, but you can't go any further than that. You have to wait till the next month to be able to spend that. If you want to do £20 here, £30 there, cool. If you want to save that £100 and use that for next month, let's say you're trying to save up for something that's more expensive than £100, well then now you have to save it up. The envelope system's great for that. You take an envelope, you withdraw it as cash, you take £100 and you put it in there. If you don't want to take out cash because you think you're going to lose that envelope, Starling, Monzo, Revolut, these all have digital pots now where you can save money aside and you don't have to open a separate bank account. It's within their ecosystem. You just open that up, put £100 there, forget about it. Then next month comes around, you can put £100 in there, you've got £200 to spend as you wish. There are so many different variations that you can do to budget and set yourself up. But it's a bit of work that people don't want to do, that's the honest truth. And if you think that, well, I'm going to be earning a little bit more in the next couple of years and that will solve the problem, you're sorely mistaken. That's not going to happen, to be quite honest with you, because two things happen. You've got lifestyle creep and you haven't got habits set in place. So what's going to happen is when a little bit more money comes in, you're going to spend that little bit more money. Think about it like this. If you're struggling month to month and you're wondering where the money's gone 2 weeks in, if you earn an extra £500, is that really going to change things? You might think it will. But in the next month or two, you'll realise that that £500 has gone on something else and you're just kicking the can further down the road. You need to be able to set a hard boundary with your finances, and it needs to be managed meticulously. If you don't watch it, it gets lost. If you don't plug the leaks in your boat, you will drown. It's simple as. And that is something that you need to be able to follow and you need to be able to set. And you won't always be right with that thing. Maybe £100 is too much. Maybe £50 budget is what you need to set. For groceries, maybe it's £400 a month. Maybe that's too little. You can't survive on that, or it's really difficult. So maybe you need to find out certain things. This is for you to sit down with yourself or your family and go through and have honest conversations about. And I think what I'm trying to say is this video should be the thing that pushes you to have those conversations, to have deep thinks about your finances, to kind of actually think about where you want to go moving forward with your month and have a plan for the money that comes into your account. We've got a finite amount of time on this earth, and you want to try and make as much use of it as you can, and you don't want to carry on working 9 to 5 and not be able to enjoy the rest of your life. So I think that's my thoughts on those things. If you think you want to hear more stuff like that, you know to subscribe. Stop wasting your time with it. And yeah, hope this helps.